One of the methods of scouting is uniforming. Over the next few weeks, we will take a deep dive into the history of the uniforms of Scouting America's various programs. In the first 2 weeks, we'll focus on uniforms for the Scouts BSA program. Next, we'll look at Sea Scout uniforms, followed by Cub Scout uniforms, and we'll wrap up our series of videos looking at Explorer, Varsity, and Venturing uniforms. The history of uniforms, and specifically Scouting uniforms, is up next in this edition of Artifact of the Week. When Baden-Powell started the Scouting movement, he drew on his military experience to provide justification for a uniform.
If you already belong to a corps which has a uniform, you dress in that uniform. But on passing the test for a scout given here, you wear the scout badge. If your commanding officer allows it, in addition to any of your corps' badges that you may have won. A scout does not use a showy uniform because it would attract attention. But scouts in a patrol should, as far as possible, dress alike, especially as regards hats or caps and neckerchief. If your patrol does not belong to any uniformed corps, it should dress as nearly as possible thus. Flat-brimmed hat if possible, or wide-awake hat, colored handkerchief tied loosely round neck, shirt, flannel. Colors: a bunch of ribbons of patrol color on left shoulder. Belt with coat rolled tight and strapped or tied on it behind. Haversack to carry food, etc., slung on back across the shoulders. Shorts, trousers cut short at knee. A kilt if you are a Scotsman. Stockings with garters made of green braid with one end hanging down 1 inch. Boots or shoes. Staff as high as Scout's shoulder, not shod, as it is for feeling the way at night quietly. Badge on left arm above elbow. Whistle with cord round neck for patrol leader. The color of the neckerchief or necktie and shoulder knot should be the color of the patrol. Corporal has a white stripe of braid 3 inches long, stitched across his sleeve below the badge.
BP felt strongly about the need for a uniform for his scouts.
The uniform means that you are now one of a big brotherhood. It goes all over the world. People think a great lot of a boy who is dressed in this uniform because they know he is not an ordinary boy, but that he can be clean and smart and active, and that he can be trusted to do his best, to obey orders or to do good turns for other people.
He also wrote,
"Smartness in uniform and correctness in detail may seem a small matter, but has its value in the development of self-respect and means an immense deal to the reputation of the movement among outsiders who judge by what they see."
When Scouting came to the United States, the original edition of the Scout Handbook used much of the verbiage from Scouting for Boys, with a few changes.
If you already belong to a corps which has a uniform, you dress in that uniform, but on passing the tests for a scout given here, you wear the scout badge, if your commanding officer allows it, in addition to any of your corps' badges that you may have won. Scouts in a patrol should, as far as possible, dress alike, especially as regards hats and neckerchief and color of shirt or sweater. If your patrol does not belong to any uniformed corps, it should dress as nearly as possible thus. Hat, khaki color, flat brim and chin strap. Neckerchief, of the colors of your patrol. The neckerchief is worn knotted at the throat and also at the ends, and is tied loosely round the neck. Shirt, flannel blue, khaki, or gray. In winter, a jersey or sweater of the same color, if preferred. Breeches, short khaki, gray or blue, with braid or cord on seam. Belt, brown leather, 2 swivels, coat strap, pouch optional. Buckles, etc., should be of dull metal. Stockings, dark color or khaki, preferably turned down below the knee. Shoes or boots, brown or black, or brown sneaks. Staff, marked in feet and inches, not shod, as it is for feeling the way at night quietly. Haversack, khaki color. Shoulder knot. A bunch of ribbons or tapes of patrol color on left shoulder. Whistle, with cord round neck for patrol leaders and scoutmasters. Knife, on lanyard and hitched to swivel on belt. Nothing but the above should be worn visibly. All extras, such as ropes, kettles, etc., to be carried in haversack. A scout's clothing should be of flannel or wool, as much as possible. Cotton next the skin should be avoided, as it does not absorb the perspiration and is likely to give you a chill.
As you can see, the 1910 uniform was patterned similarly to military uniforms, which made sense since it was manufactured by the Sigmund Eisner Company, the largest manufacturer of uniforms for the U.S. military and other military-related organizations. The uniform consisted of a khaki high-collar coat. Notice that the buttons have the English fleur-de-lis and BSA around it. The English fleur-de-lis was used because the BSA fleur-de-lis had not yet been completed and had not yet received its patent protection. A khaki long-sleeve two-pocket shirt, button-fly khaki breeches with a waist adjustment strap in the back, a brown leather belt, and a high-crown felt campaign hat with star-shaped vents on each side. Olive drab stockings worn over the laces of the breeches and available in wool or cotton. The following year, 1911, the first edition of the Scout Handbook was published and again addresses uniforms.
It should be clearly understood by all interested in the Scout movement that it is not necessary for a boy to have a uniform or any other special equipment to carry out the Scout program. There are a great many troops in the country which have made successful progress without any equipment whatever. However, for the convenience of boys who wish to secure a uniform or other equipment, the National Council has made arrangements with certain manufacturers to furnish such parts of the equipment as may be desired by the boys. Such arrangements have been made with these manufacturers only after a great number of representative firms have been given an opportunity to submit samples and prices. The prices quoted to be uniform throughout the country. These manufacturers are given the privilege of using for a limited period an imprint of the official badge as an indication that the Committee on Equipment is willing to recommend the use of that particular article. The official badge is fully protected by the U.S. patent laws, and anyone using it without expressed authority from national headquarters is subject to prosecution at law. Considerable difficulty has been experienced in the selection of the material used in making coats, breeches, and shirts. The material used in the Boy Scout coat, breeches, and shirt has been submitted to a 30-day sun test, the acid and strength test, and is guaranteed to be a fast color and durable. To show the result of the selection made, the manufacturer of these articles has been given the privilege of using the imprint of the official seal and the right to use the official buttons. We recommend the purchase of the articles having this imprint through any local dealer or through national headquarters. However, where a local council exists, buttons will be supplied on order of the Executive Committee for use on such uniforms, as the committee may desire to have made locally. In communities where no local council has been formed, they may be supplied on order of a registered scoutmaster. Prices of the buttons per set for coat is 15 cents, and per set for shirt 10 cents. Every effort is made to have all parts of the uniform and equipment available to Scouts through local dealers. If such arrangements have not been made in a community, the national headquarters will be glad to help in making such an arrangement. Many Scout masters prefer to order uniforms and other supplies direct from national headquarters. In order to cover the expense involved in handling these supplies, the manufacturers have agreed to allow national headquarters the same trade discount allowed to local dealers. Trade through national headquarters, if sufficiently large, will help to meet a part of the current expenses of the national organization. Any combination desired may be made from this list. Fairly complete equipment may be secured at the very nominal sum of $2.15. For instance, the summer equipment, which consists of hat, 50 cents, shirt, 75 cents, shorts, 50 cents, belt, 40 cents, Where it is desired to equip the members of the troop with a standard uniform, the following equipment is suggested: hat, shirt, coat, breeches or knickerbockers, belt, leggings or stockings, shoes, haversack. Other combinations may be made according to the resources of the boys forming the troop. However, it is recommended that each troop decide upon a definite combination to be worn by its members, so that all of the scouts in the troop may dress alike. Each boy should pay for his own supplies and equipment. Soliciting donations for this purpose should be prohibited. A complete list of all supplies and equipment, with full information about places where same can be secured, is given in the appendix of this book.
The 1911 uniform consisted of a high-collar khaki jacket with 4 pockets. The shirt and breeches were similar to the 1910 design. The buttons now had the BSA first class emblem. In addition to the breeches of 1910, Scouts also had the option of knickerbockers, similar to the breeches, and shorts, which were recommended for summer wear. The 1910 belt was used until 1913, when a web belt and metal buckle were introduced. The campaign hat had a high crown, and for summer wear, a lighter weight hat was available from 1911 to 1919. The first edition handbook talks about a bandana or neckerchief. It reads,
bandana or neckerchief. These are so common that every boy will recognize at once what is meant by a bandana. The members of each patrol wear bandanas made in the colors of their patrol. These can be purchased at any local dry goods store at 10 or 15 cents each.
In July of 1914, an official 28-inch square Scout neckerchief stamped with the official badge design appeared in the equipment catalog. Next to the listing, it was stamped, "Cannot furnish." The neckerchief did not appear in the catalog again until 1916. In 1919, the neckerchief was changed from merkin to heavy pongee, and it grew by 4 inches to 28 inches by 32 inches. In 1918, the first official neckerchief slides were introduced. They were made of 3 strands of khaki or white colored cord intertwined into a Turk's head knot. Khaki leggings from 1911 to 1916 were a thin strap wrapped 3 times around the leg and buckles. In 1916, new leggings were introduced. They were of the same design used by the U.S. military. This new design remained a part of the uniform until 1928. In December 1916, the uniform catalog listed a new merit badge sleeve to help protect a Scout's merit badges, which were worn on the sleeve of the jacket. While there are many examples of merit badge sleeves from the era, it is unknown how many were homemade and how many were actually produced by the National Council. In December 1919, the National Council approved a new open-collar uniform coat. This new style coat was phased in as the current stock of high-collar coats was depleted.
The new official uniforms for Scouts and leaders have been definitely fixed by the Executive Board of the National Council. The new coat smacks of outdoor life, being of the Norfolk variety with pleats on the back, a rolled collar, eliminating the problem of buttoning the top button on a growing boy, and a stylish belt effect greatly improving the appearance. This new uniform for council members, troop committeemen, and commissioned officers will be made available at once. The previous style uniform will continue to be official until January 1st, 1922, so that no unnecessary expense will devolve upon those leaders who have equipped themselves especially well with the previous uniform. The utmost care has been taken that no injustice of this kind shall result for either officials, troops, or boys. The new style of uniform for boys will not be publicly announced for approximately 6 months, but the National Council is having detailed specifications made ready and will advertise sealed bids from responsible manufacturers throughout the whole United States for the manufacture and distribution of the new Boy Scout uniform. It will therefore be entirely in order for new troops just looking forward to equipment to invest in the present uniform, as they will have a full 2 years of service from such equipment, and the new coats will not in any event be ready for many months, or until the newly bought suits have become typical hikers. In no case shall a Boy Scout be compelled to purchase a new uniform or any part thereof to use in lieu of the present official uniform, or any part thereof which he has purchased in good faith and which has not become unserviceable for reasons other than style or design.
Each council was allowed to decide if it would use the new coat as part of its uniform, and both wool and cotton uniforms were produced, giving Scouts options that were suitable for where they lived. When the new uniform was introduced, the jacket did not have any internal pockets. This was changed in 1923 when a small internal pocket was added to hold a Scouts membership card. In 1924, a short-sleeve V-neck collarless shirt with a single pocket on the left side was introduced as part of the outdoor service uniform. This lightweight shirt was specifically designed for camp and informal use. In 1925, a second pocket was added to the shirt. Interestingly, on the inside hat band of the brown campaign hat, it was embossed with the British fleur-de-lis until the mid-1920s, when it was changed to the first-class rank emblem. The solid brown silk headband on the outside of the hat was changed to have small first-class emblems on it in 1928. Neckerchiefs and slides underwent changes in the 1920s. In October 1924, a new two-color neckerchief with a first-class design on the back was introduced. In October 1926, both the solid color and two-color neckerchiefs were changed to have a round BSA logo on the back. For the slides, the changes began in late 1923 and included new colors for the Turk's Head slide, with red being reserved for executives and officials.
It is recommended that Scout neckerchiefs always be worn with these slides. The purpose is twofold. First, the slide, which in appearance resembles the knot called Turk's Head, serves as a reminder of the Scouts' daily good turn pledge. Second, because it permits the neckerchief to be instantly removed if needed for emergency use, which would not be the case if the neckerchief itself was tied in a knot. Slides furnished in a variety of colors. Each troop should adopt a color that should be worn by all members of the troop, with neckerchief of standard contrasting color, as adopted for the troop, district, or council.
The same khaki web belt introduced in 1913 was used until the mid-1920s. At that time, a small, squatty first-class emblem with a long knot on the buckle was changed to a taller first-class emblem with a short knot. The first official merit badge sashes were custom-made for the BSA contingent to the 1924 World Jamboree. For these custom-made sashes, the merit badges were first sewn together. A filler piece of matching cloth was added above and below the badges. Next, a piece of cloth approximately a half-inch wider than the badges was added for backing. The overhanging backing was wrapped around the edge of the sash and sewn down. This gave the appearance that the badges were part of the sash. Scouts who had earned 30 merit badges or more were given sashes 3 badges wide. Those who had earned less than 30 were given ones only 2 badges wide so that the sash would still look full. The merit badge sash was made available to all Scouts in October 1924. In 1928, all insignia were removed from the coat. During the 1930s, the Boy Scouts launched a better uniforming campaign. Articles on the importance of the Scout uniform appeared in almost every issue of Scouting magazine. Because of the Great Depression, there was a movement in the early 1930s to have distributors sell imitation uniforms at lower costs for Scouts. The National Council wrote letters to the distributors threatening them with the loss of their distribution status if they sold anything other than the official uniform. The time period was also marked by price reductions negotiated between the BSA and the Sigmund Eisner Company, which had been the official supplier of BSA uniforms since 1911. Over the 22 years that Eisner manufactured BSA uniforms, there were questions brought about how the company could consistently be the lowest bidder. It wasn't a stretch, given that they were the largest uniform manufacturer in the country. Despite their efforts to reduce prices while maintaining quality, the BSA put out a new competitive bid for uniforms in 1931. In 1932, it was announced that Sweet Orr & Company won the bid and would be the new official manufacturer. Prices were locked in until 1933, and Eisner and Sweet Orr worked together with the National Council to ensure uniforms would remain available during the transition. In June 1933, the National Industrial Recovery Act was introduced, and with it a cotton processing tax, which increased the price of a Boy Scout uniform by as much as 25%. NERA was overturned almost 2 years later when the Supreme Court of the United States ruled the act was unconstitutional. In 1937, with Sweet Orr's 5-year contract coming to an end, the BSA decided to become its own distribution system and solicited bids from many manufacturers for individual uniform parts, as opposed to the previous system of a single company responsible for producing all of the uniform parts. Despite all this going on, the basic BSA uniform remained relatively unchanged. Single and two-color neckerchiefs with tenderfoot emblems inside a diamond logo measuring 32 inches square, were introduced in the early 1930s. Special neckerchiefs were also made for events like the National Jamboree or the World's Fair camps. A limited number of half-size triangular neckerchiefs were also available. The triangular neckerchiefs did not have a logo on them. In 1934, a new cast metal Turk's head with a tenderfoot emblem in the center was also produced for the first time. 1930s belt buckles had an extra sliding plate inside the buckle that moved with the slide post. The buckle design was patented on August 29, 1931. The 1940s saw a redesign of parts of the Boy Scout uniform. Cotton trousers were introduced in 1944 for Scouts and became so popular that the breeches were officially discontinued on January 1, 1950. In 1949, a zipper fly replaced button-down designs for pants, and red piping was added to the front pockets. Shirts kept the same design from the 1930s, but were manufactured from a very fine twill material. By the late 1940s, the color shifted from tan to more of a khaki. The campaign hat remained part of the uniform, but in 1943, a new overseas or garrison cap design was introduced as an alternative to the campaign hat. The hat was made of khaki cloth, had red piping on the edge, and a tenderfoot design emblem sewn on the front left corner of the cap. Metal badges of rank were worn on the garrison cap from 1943 through 1946. Merit badge sashes remained available in 2 and 3 badge widths. By the mid-1940s, the color of the sashes was changed to khaki to match the uniforms. The metal neckerchief slide design was produced from plastic during the 1940s to conserve metal for the war effort. Newly designed short leggings were introduced in 1947. The 1950s and 1960s saw only minor changes to the Boy Scout uniform. Shirts, pants, and shorts remained unchanged from the 1940 design. Square neckerchiefs were removed as an option, and Scouts were encouraged to make their own neckerchief slides. The short leggings, introduced in 1947, remained a part of the uniform, but were primarily used with Scouts when they were camping or hiking. The brass belt buckle with first-class emblem on the front was used into the late 1960s when the first-class emblem was changed to a tenderfoot emblem. An official leather belt embossed with a design featuring the Universal Scouting emblem and square knots and a 2-part metal buckle was introduced in 1959. So there you have it, a detailed look at uniforming from 1910 to the 1960s. Next time, we'll finish up our Boy Scout uniform discussion, starting with the new uniform options introduced in 1972. But that's all the time we have for now. Join us next week as we continue to learn more about the history of Scouting America through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.